get to it.
Well, there we go. Patrick is effervescent as always this morning.
Yes. Too early.
Is it because I'm not there? Is that why? Is it because
I'm here?
I'm remote?
I can see you.
It is throwing the chemistry off a little bit, I think.
Oh, it's fine.
This is so awkward.
So now what episode is it?
Now it's episode 92.
92.
Already?
You're back in the room.
You said that at the beginning too. You said it was episode 92 at the beginning.
I said it was 92?
Yeah.
Damn it.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
God.
Are we wearing the same clothes as we were last week?
Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little chilly this morning, actually. I put my
beautiful day.
So, Eric, why don't you tell us why you're not with us this time? Why are you not in the same room?
I am at my house in my little makeshift drum studio. You can see a cymbal back there where I do my online lessons because we're going to go see my parents on November 5th for an early Thanksgiving because Mom doesn't like the fact it's taken her 78 years to figure out that Christmas and Thanksgiving are too close together on the calendar, and it irks her for some reason. I don't know why.
I think she's right to be irked. That is silly. We should have Thanksgiving in June.
Well, she's Canadian, so usually it's right around what we call Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day.
Oh,
so
okay.
that's when the Canadian Thanksgiving normally is. And it makes more sense to have it in October, especially a couple of weeks before Halloween. It gives you time to prep for Halloween's becoming a bigger deal these days. But the only time we could figure out that would be a good time to go see them over in Kyle, Texas, which is just south of Austin, was actually the weekend of the 5th. Due to gigs that we have and everything else that's going on this month. So I am quarantining for 10 days to make sure that when I go visit them, because they are elderly, they are 81 and 78 respectively, Dad and Mom, to make sure that I keep them safe. So that's why I'm at home, and you'll see me at home probably the next couple SlapperCasts, or maybe just this one. If we do the next one on Friday like that, I'll be there for that one.
Right, because this one we're in now, this is probably coming out the week after the election.
It's coming out election day.
You, those listening at home, know something we don't at the moment.
Hopefully it's good news.
Yeah, break it to us gently. Well, this has been a good opportunity for me to refresh my Skype skills because I clearly thought I had everything working, and it wasn't.
It's working great now.
Yeah.
That was an interesting weekend of gigs too. This has been a while now since, but great turnout at T-Bone Tom's, and same thing with the Methodist Church up in Cyprus. What a phenomenal couple of shows. I mean, just people they're beyond excited to be out, and it's like not only were they shoved in a room and locked the door, but they acted like they had been restrained the whole time because they're just losing their minds, and really nice to see the reaction.
Yeah, that was well beyond my expectations for that gig, and I knew nothing about the church ahead of time. But usually when we're told sound is provided for something that's not at a music venue, even that sometimes is like, I don't know. But we got there, and there was a fellow named Andy Davis runs his own sound company called Andy Audio.
Andy Audio. Look him up if you need any sound. From 500 people to 5,000 people, he can cover it. Sound and lights and professional beyond expertise.
We've talked about the wonderful experience of having a really good, really talented sound engineer working with you, and he's one of those people without a doubt. And I can still count all those people maybe on my two hands, mostly in one hand, that I've met throughout our career. He's well up there. I mean, he was really, really good.
Yeah, I said to Eric when we pulled up, we saw the stage, and there's not a cable or a wire or anything on the stage, and everything was symmetrical and lined up properly. The whole stage looked like it was designed by the ancient Romans. Cables looked like they all just come out of a box and were just put perfectly on the stage. So we were all right. This guy knows what he's doing, and everybody in the audience claimed the same.
Yeah, we got high marks from everybody for sure.
And just
Randy
his
did.
personality too, from when you first met him, just super pleasant, and he kind of put you at ease. You kind of had that vibe of just like everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And it was, and you know, being able to ask, hey, can I get a little more bass in this? Can I get a little more guitar? Oh, absolutely, whatever you need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you always want to say thank you after you say something like that too. So
Yeah.
definitely a great guy.
Yeah, and do you, when you switch the monitors on and you have exactly what you need in the he visually can tell on his board where the settings need to be, and we're easy to work with too. He was delighted when he sees the direct gear and the professional kit and the people that roll up with the gear rolling out, no cases and dust on it and dirt,
As I said, the drums in the back seat and no cases and hardware stands either by themselves or in a gym bag. I'm just like, come on, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
So
I've seen plenty of times.
it's a two-way street, and everybody was very pleased and set up and playing in no time. Jeff Duncan did again an amazing job. We just love playing with him. Every note is there. The harmonies were blowing me away. I'd stop playing a couple of times just to accentuate the harmonies, the three voices that seem to work really well together in my head anyway. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to get with him and have him record his parts so I can learn them. Just sing sing it into the phone and I'll record it. Sing that part that you do on that song or this song. So I can, if we start doing more 3-piece stuff, I can kind of figure out what he's doing.
We have that from T-Bone Tom. So the sound of T-Bone Tom's are really good too. So
I have isolated vocal tracks for him. A lot of different shows. Yeah.
He's got such a great ear that he finds those kind of like really in between harmonies. It's not always just, well, I'm going to go higher than Chad. Sometimes it's in between. It's very, I don't want to say Beatles-esque because I know how Patrick feels about that, but but he always finds that extra note that just adds that richness to the chords that you guys sing.
Yeah. For the record, I do like the Beatles harmonies. I love that. It seems like that's the natural progression of a harmony, the way that they do their stuff. The way that Jeff sings a lot of the times is he'll find that harmony that's not exactly what you would expect it to be, and he'll exactly. To suit his voice, and he'll be able to slide it right in there. And it's just that comes with not only having a great ear, but also having a great music teacher, and his ability to jump on the stage with a Irish rock band or a swing band or a Texas country band, or he's able to just fit in and make his space.
Exactly. He's the king of sliding it in. So
hey,
yeah. What?
I'm not getting in the van with him again.
I'm talking about a band situation here. What are you talking about?
Yeah, yes.
I think one of the things that made that show really fun for me, I think for all of us too, is that we were on using monitor wedges, the ones that Andy had set up for us before we got there, instead of our in-ears, which nothing against the in-ears, but when the whole reason why we switched the in-ears in the first place, it was usually in loud environments where we had a really hard time distinguishing our parts over anything, everything else that's going on, and be able to think straight while we're playing. There, when you're playing outside and you've got a really good sound engineer and there's no walls, there's no ceiling above you, I think that's, using traditional monitor wedges might be the best way for us to work. That was just, I'd forgotten how much I missed just being able to hear the air around me,
And surprisingly, I wasn't deaf on the way home. Like normally sometimes after a gig where you play with wedges, you're kind of like, a little ringing in the ears. Well, on the way home, just fine. I mean, it wasn't terrible. It was good. Yeah. Sign of a good sound man too. And I didn't have to have it too cranked up because I could hear from actually both of y'all's monitors. I could still hear sound coming from there as well. So it worked out well.
Yeah.
It's a fun show.
It's perfect.
I don't know why more people aren't doing stuff like that. Like having a kind of, not necessarily like a drive-in show, but having a space where you can have people come and bring their chairs and have a band, and if there's enough space, space people out, and even I know they didn't charge anything at that show because they just paid us directly, but I mean, got a parking lot, why not do a show? Well,
again, a lot of these places aren't lucky enough to have our Texas weather. Even on a day like today, where we think it's cold, it's actually not cold, and you can do a show outside with ease. The the setup that we had out there was tremendous. Just so much room. Again, there's just not many places with A, the weather, and B, that size space. I mean, you could have parked, a mile away and walked over, and still had enough room to put 500, 600, 1,000 people in there without tripping over each other.
Yeah.
That's a great space.
Yeah, there should be more of that. Absolutely.
Yeah. We'll talk to Sterling, and because I said it too on last Sunday, which is a month ago now, which you do the math. But we haven't given up on Paddy's Day 2020. So we're going to do it before the year ends. Watch out for that.
Yeah.
It's coming.
And none of us burst into flames either. So that was cool.
Well, we were far enough away, don't you think?
Well, I mean, I did go use the bathroom.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy water
Well, it's a
doesn't...
Methodist church. I mean, that's like Protestant light. So it really doesn't really count.
Okay.
Yeah. So if not when the show comes out, but when we're recording it, normally we'd be in Ireland right now.
Oh, that's true.
We'd be a few days into our trip.
Son of a bitch.
So
yeah, can you put me in a room, please?
Yeah, people ask us about the Ireland tour all the time, and pretty much every time we're out, it's like, hey, you going to Ireland next year? I'm like, we fully intend to. But it's hard to really know what's going to happen at all next year at this point. So hopefully we'll be able to say, but I think you all know why we can't at the moment. So hopefully that'll change. I mean, Ireland's still locked down right there at the moment, right? You can't get in or out.
Just locked down.
Yeah.
Just started to. They've got 6 weeks, so they're going to get right in at the beginning of December. So they're pushing hard to get ahead of this thing again, so they can have Christmas. But I've seen on the news the protests for the people that don't want to wear the masks and don't want to do that.
It's
who knows.
That's crazy that even though that seemed to be a distinctly American attitude, the anti-maskers things, but they're everywhere, apparently.
Yeah, but there's never been, to beat a dead horse again, there's never been a strategic plan put in place. There's always been, well, yeah, that's what they say, this is what they say, and they say this, and I think this, and my medicine degree over, you don't know. Mm-hmm. So it's perplexing, to say the least.
Mm. Are we still going to have Cormac on the show at some point?
Yeah, we should have put it on the calendar and sent it to him to have him for this Saturday coming, but that Saturday gone that you're hearing now. Mm-hmm. Welcome. So, yeah, he says he'll definitely be on it. We need to put it on the calendar, send it to him so he can just block it off. So, for those of you who don't know, my brother Cormac Devlin is TD in Ireland, so he's in government, and he's going to be on the show. He doesn't want to talk politics, but we're gonna push it out of him.
What does TD stand for?
It's something Irish.
Is it?
Yeah.
Political? I mean, or like a mayor, congressman type of position?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I do have a question from Bob this week if you want to talk about
Bob
that.
Mills. Hello, Bob.
Yeah.
Well,
the rest came through with a question, and the question is kind of perplexing, but we can try to explain it. And we may have even talked about this in the past. I don't know. Or maybe you already have. He writes, musicians in the past have done albums collaborating with the other musicians, each song with a different player. The Blaggards were to make such an album, what musicians would be picked? If to go deeper, what song with what musician? So basically, he's talking about collaborating. Like if we were going to make our next record, while this one is being mixed and mastered and getting ready to be sent out in time for the holidays and whatnot,
mm-hmm.
Our next record, if we wanted to make it with any musician in the world, who could we make it with? Who would we pick?
First person that comes to mind for me is Steve Earle. Not only my fan, screaming little teenager fan of Steve Earle's, but he's worked with the Pogues before, and his breadth of musical styles and influences, they just don't begin, they don't end. They're so wide, and he'd be one of those people that you would just want to put on a record to steer your stuff into a different, a whole new area that you hadn't thought about.
I would be really interested to hear just the idea of you two collaborating on a song too. It'd be really interesting. I mean, actually writing together.
Nobody likes you two. Oh, yes.
You two, the two of you.
The two, yes.
The two of you.
Yes.
As a duo.
I had to think back what I say. Like, wait, where did he get that from?
Yeah, I just have to.
Because you've some of the stuff. There's a couple of songs that you're writing that are not going to be on this record. That to me sound distinctly Steve Earle-esque. And I don't know. It'd be really cool to get him on that stuff.
Yeah, I'd love to say I've never borrowed from Steve Earle, but that's a lie. I just can't. I just can't nail him down on one specific area. He just takes off and goes on. It's just brilliant writer.
Yeah, we haven't often talked about him as much as we've talked about like Elvis and Phil Lynott and so forth. But he really is a big influence on this band for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and his songwriting arc is pretty remarkable. I mean, from when he was the kid with the long hair and the bandana to the older gentleman wearing the tweed jacket and the glasses. I mean his stuff has just kind of run the gamut of a little bit of everything. Murder, drug songs to ballads to political stuff to everything in between.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely a prolific and a very interesting songwriter. I wish more people would check him out just because of that.
There's a person that I know who just doesn't like country music and used to get really annoyed whenever Copperhead Road would come on because of there's a line dance. Most people, even if you don't know who Steve Earle is, you know that song and you know the line. At least you've seen people do the line dance to it. I couldn't tell you how to line. I don't know how to line dance. But they get annoyed because of the line dance aspect of it. It's like, but have you listened to the words of the song? It's such a great song.
I keep saying that every time I played a dance hall and that song would come on during the break. And I'm like, these fucking people are not listening to what this song is even about. All they want to do is step and kick. It's like, it's murder and killing cops and drugs and booze and Vietnam flashbacks. And it's fucked up. I mean, it's really a deeper song than get out there and do the boot scoop boogie. It really is. Right. And it's a great song. I think it's a great song. I think it's well crafted. I think the musicianship on it is fantastic. Yeah. I think it tells a story and it just shows how, it could very well be a true story because of the way it's written and the way it's told. It could be somebody's family. Yeah. Yeah. And the way he draws you into that, right, by the character introduces himself right off the bat. My name's John Lee Pettimore, et cetera. And then you're hearing about his dad and his granddad. And it just feels so like you're there, Yeah. That song, you're sitting having a conversation with him. That song, Home to Houston, is kind of the same way. Do you know that song about the guy? He wrote it during the Gulf War. And it basically about a Texas guy that was basically hired by Halliburton to drive trucks over in Iraq or wherever it was. Oh. And basically the whole bridge is, he's driving this big rig because he's hauling gasoline or oil or something like that from one of the refineries, and he's being accompanied by a couple guys in some Humvees. And over the radio, the guy says, "Look out! Here comes an RPG." Like he's out there risking his life to make a living for his family. And the moral of the story is, he's like, the tagline is, "If I ever get back to Houston again, I won't drive a truck anymore." It's really cool song. We may want to put a link to it, maybe if we can, like to a YouTube link. It's just it's a song that tells a story about just an average guy just trying to get by, but the circumstances are completely fucked up. Yeah, shit. I'm not even familiar with that one. And then it's off that record where he did that. He wrote that song about the. He also wrote a song about like a Taliban guy, like an American guy that became a Taliban guy, and it raised a lot of hackles on a lot of people because people think Steve Earle's like, good old country Texas American guy. No. He's not. No, not at all. No, he's got something important to say usually when he writes a song, and that particular song, I forget what it's called. I'll have to goggle it and give that information to you later. But it's about a guy, being in Taliban, and maybe regretting his decision. I can't remember how the song goes. Anyway, yeah.
I do recall we were lucky enough to go and see him. We were pretty damn close to front row, and we went to see him. I saw that the song rings a bell. I want to say, but I don't know which records is. I've got a bunch of stuff in there, and not enough. I need all of it. But yeah, he did. You could hear there was tension when he would do some songs about political leaning. You know, his political leaning stuff, and there was some distress. You could feel there was a unnerving in parts of the audience that were not expecting that from him.
Right.
That was pretty evident. But Steve Earle has captured. If anybody is, in my estimation, if anybody's as close to perfection in their songwriting is Steve Earle is that, because he just seems to nail it every time, lyrically and musically. He matches them up really well. Mark Knopfler, to me, does the same thing. He sings and he plays and he writes in the style of his voice. I don't know, I can't explain that, but that's how I feel about it. But Steve Earle is another one of those guys who, which incidentally, I'd love to hear Steve Earle and Mark Knopfler together.
Holy crap!
Just think Brothers in Arms with one of Steve Earle's. Anyway, so seeing him live and hearing those songs, done, and his band, just tremendous, just flawless band. And so again, yes, in going back to your point, Chad, that we haven't said enough about Steve Earle. Yeah, there's not enough been said about him. Of course, he recently suffered the tragic loss of his son, and then Billy Joe Schaefer today, just died today.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Today, being Wednesday, October 28th. Yeah. Again, yeah. Sorry, I thought you guys knew. So yeah, just all these incredible writers, which again is no consolation now to the family and friends and whatnot, fans, but it's going to bring all these people, all their music back to the top, back into the eye, into the listener's ear or whatever. It's going to be pushed up, but yes, Steve Earle is. He's one of those people you just come across. He is like a Dylan. He is like a Springsteen. He's one of those people that just crosses so many different genres, and just I've started 3 or 4 different points and I've lost all of them. It's too early.
Maybe we should just schedule this for later.
Steve might actually be someone that we could actually work with. I mean, maybe somebody that, obviously he can be like, no, fuck that, I don't want to do that because of whatever. But like a collaborative effort on a song, or even having him record even just a verse of a song.
Yeah.
When Alan did his record, he had Archie Bell come in and sang 2 lines basically on his record. Obviously they're friends and they know each other, but Steve, it might cost us a little bit of money, but if it's worth it to have him on a record, why not ask?
Yeah. You could see him enjoying this style of music as well, because he's not a guy that likes to sit in between the lines, or write in between the lines, or play within the rules or whatever. He's definitely got a Blaggard soul.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not pushing that on him. I'm saying I'm taking him for us. I'm not pushing it that I'm taking. So
it makes me think of when we opened for James McMurtry way back in the early days, and I wish that we'd been able to play or be on the bill with him again after that, because we didn't have a chance to talk to him or meet him. But we were doing our set, and I think we were in the middle of Bog Songs at the time. I don't know why I just remember this so distinctly, because that was kind of a new arrangement at the time.
That's your thing, Chad. You remember things very distinctly.
I think that may have been one of our brand new arrangements that we had just done. And we're in the middle of that. And James, who was in the other, this is at the Continental Club, by the way, in Houston. And he was in the other room, but the back room where the pool tables are. And I see somebody come up on the side of the stage as we're playing, and it's James, and he's looking at us with this big smile on his face, like he just had to come and see. He heard what we're playing. He had to come and watch us for this song. And I remember just being that's so cool that we actually got his attention and held it, And the other time that makes me think of that is God, I can't remember the lead singer, the main guy in Brave Combo, Carl. Carl also was
Carl.
Yeah, Carl was also very taken with Blaggards when we played with him twice. Actually, we opened for him once as Patrick Devlin Band, and then again as Blaggards a few years later. So yeah,
Patrick Devlin Band.
Yeah,
Where's that T-shirt?
I have one.
That was the name. But when Patrick would always tell, "What's the name of your band?" Patrick Devlin Band. Hate the name. Changing the name. That was part of the name.
Well, we had There's a long, boring story that goes along with that, but yeah, that was
We've told it. Go back.
Short-lived.
Episode 1 of SlapperCast, we talked about that.
Was it really?
Nice.
Yeah. It's the first thing we talked about.
What a memory, huh?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Have you ever seen James McMurtry, Eric?
Yeah, I've actually a bunch of times because we used to play. I used to do every Tuesday at the Continental Club in Austin with Mike Barfield, and we would close the night. But then once in a while, James would just show up because he was dating. I think he still is with this girl who was a bartender there at the Continental, because he would play every Wednesday night, I think. And I remember one time I was across the street in front of the Hotel San Jose unloading my hardware box, and he had pulled up behind me to park. And I can't remember if it was a Tuesday night or what the deal was, but I get out of the car and I'm wrangling the hardware box, which is like wrangling an elephant. And he goes, "Hey man, you want any help?" And I thought that was the coolest thing. That there's James McMurtry asking if he wants to help me get my shit out. I'm like, "Oh no, I got it, James. It's all cool." Cool. And so that was a nice memory. But yeah, from living in Austin and either playing before him or after him certain times, I've seen him a bunch of times, and he's great. I mean, I'm a big fan of his dad's writing anyway, and so and we were back in New Hampshire when I played with my buddies Morris and Steve. We did a couple, 2 or 3 James McMurtry songs in our set just because Morris liked him as a songwriter and he thought he was cool and we liked him. And I remember the very first time I saw James, it was after a gig. I went to the HEB at like 2:30 in the morning to buy something to eat, snack on. Mm-hmm. And I looked behind me and there's James buying a bunch of organic bananas. And I thought that was neat. And I remember going home and I think I might have called them both back in New Hampshire at like 3 a.m. Like, James McMurtry was buying organic bananas behind me in line, and I thought that was neat. So it's like he's just one of those guys you just saw around town, and he was just the coolest guy, and his band was awesome. Speaking of a trio, they were a trio whenever I saw them, and they would just lay that shit down. And yeah, he's another great guy that we should actually absolutely talk with to do a song together with.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
He'd be super accessible too, I bet, to do it and want to do it.
That's what we got out of that. Out of that show when we played with them was there's no ego. There's no barrier. No barrier. That would be the same. That's, I told my Billy Gibbons story and I told, I would imagine Steve Earle being the same way. There's no, as long as you're not a poser, as long as you're not and maybe they don't even react badly to posers, but it's so nice to meet somebody like that. We didn't meet him, but again, seeing, I remember him standing out in front of us when we were playing, and just a music fan, just the fact that he was even paying any attention to what we were doing was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to write all this crap down because there's so many and there's so much there's just so much to do. I've got, Chad can see it. We're from where we are. I've got 2 feet of notepads, of papers, and just stuff that just has to, I'm just slowly peeling it away and rewriting all these ideas from years ago and putting them all down and just I just can't wait for this shit to be lifted so we can go and do this. Go do what we were supposed to do.
Yeah. That was one of the things that was running through my head to get back to revisit the church gig briefly. I mean, having a real audience.
Yeah.
It was obviously very far away, but being on a real stage with really great sound and, not having to care, no sound problems to worry about, just being able to do our thing. And yeah, I miss it. I miss that so much. So what was the second part of Bob's question again? I forgot.
I think it's kind of along the same lines we're talking about, just like if we were going to collaborate with somebody. I mean, we obviously mentioned Steve Earle and Jane Murphy. Obviously singer-songwriters kind of seem to be a nice match. But I know we've talked about, if we could play with anybody, but the reality of it is, I mean, if we wanted to, have another musician play with us at some point on a record, I mean, who would we like to have come in and do a solo or just play on a song or whatever, I don't know. I mean, it could be anybody. I mean, there's so many great musicians,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But because I kind of hijacked that one, but I mean, do you guys have, is anybody else, keeping to the first half of the question, is there anybody else?
Gosh, I mean, there's so many.
I mean, I know there's 1,000, but.
Well, it's nice that we mentioned Steve and James, because those are two people that are actually attainable.
Exactly.
We could actually work with at some point.
Yeah.
Granted the right introductions and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, as far as another musician, I mean, it's always interesting to have like another voice, like a piano thing or a second guitar, just to kind of trade solos or whatever. Sorry, Patrick.
Well, that's okay. I was thinking of real drummers to get.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
No, it's true. I mean, I immediately go to a guitar player / mandolin player like Steve Earle, that, or a Knopfler or anyway, jump in because I feel like I'm grabbing the reins again.
I don't know with other guitar players, but just somebody who's has had a lot of experience writing with different people. The Reeves Gabrels, I think would be really interesting to collaborate with, because he's such a great down to earth guy, and he would be somebody we probably could get on the show too.
Yeah,
because he wrote with David Bowie for a long time, and now he's working with what's his name?
That guy.
The Cure. He's in The Cure now.
Wow.
What the hell is that guy's name? The lead singer.
Robert.
Yeah.
Smith.
Robert Smith. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, and also,
yeah.
What?
Go ahead. Go ahead. I had to look up the guy's name. The guy that I like, the dobro player, Jerry Douglas, would be an amazing addition too. He played dobro in Alison Krauss and Union Station. I mean, and when he did his solo with that group, he did an Irish song. So it's like he would be, he's probably a Nashville guy.
Yeah.
And probably very expensive. But I mean, he's just such a great player, and the dobro is such an interesting. I wouldn't want to hear it all the time, but for one or two songs, I mean, it might be kind of a cool second voice to have.
Yeah. Well,
look at some Jerry Douglas. He's a mofo.
Yeah. Shane, Shane Farrell in Florida. He's from Manchester, but he played on our record. We sent him the tracks, and he played on Wild Rover for us. He put fiddle and mandolin on, and he just did he's another guy that we're going to get for future. I think he's going to probably end up leaving the country, but he's just such a talent. And his brother Colin Farrell is an amazing. They're multi-instrumentalists, but they're as good as anybody that we've mentioned. I kid you not. Playing wise, they're probably. Solo wise, they're at the very, very top tier of players.
Right.
We've seen them at the Western Irish Festival. We've seen them at I see them online all the time. They do this stuff online that just these daily songs that they're doing, and they do them via Skype or via however they record them. But just, you cannot believe the abilities. Tin whistle, mandolin, fiddle, guitar. Every time I see them, I've got some new instrument, and they're playing it as well as they do their main instruments. It's sickening, really. In fact, let's take this part out because no, it really is. They're tremendous players, and again, being able to talk to people like that and to have them, play like I sent him the tracks. He recorded it and sent it right back, and it's as good as any player you're ever going to get. That's luckily to have that.
That level of musicianship is always, it's depressing for like that much, and then the rest of it's awe-inspiring. It's just like, oh man, oh my god, did you hear what he just did? Yeah. So it's just like, it's the same way with drummers. You hear drummers that are just like, what? They can play anything, any style, all the percussion instruments. It's kind of ridiculous, but it's good too. I mean, it's just like shows you how in tune they are with their abilities and their instrument.
Yeah, again, we're mentioning people that I mean, it should be very telling. We're mentioning people that don't like to sit inside the lines. No, I'm a country player. That's all I'm going to do. I'm a pop singer. That's all I'm going to. We, the three of us are again, we're not sitting inside the. Doug Stanhope said it. He said, the Irish rock is like reggae. If you like it, then you like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. That's true. That's 100% true. But our Irish rock now is 20-30% of what we do, maybe.
Yeah.
It depends on the gig. I mean, it depends on if we have a fiddle player, we lean a little bit more. Now it seems like we lean a little bit more to the Irish stuff. If it's just the three of us, we tend to lean a little bit more to the more rocking kind of low rocking kind of stuff.
But but then we're able to lean into country and do that. We're able to lean into there are no limits, and that's the nice thing, especially with people that you're talking about. You're not talking about getting like a Steve. Oh no, Steve Vai is. He's on another planet. He's on the Frank Zappa planet, obviously for many reasons. But, I was thinking like a Satriani, he could do one thing only, so, I'm not a fan. But again, that sitting in that genre and being happy and comfortable in there, that's never been our wheelhouse.
I didn't say this on the show, but when he said that it sounds concise and true. For me, it's not really true. Like if you like reggae, you like all reggae. If you like Irish rock, you like all Irish rock. I don't. I like, for Irish rock anyway. I like the Pogues and I like Thin Lizzy. But Thin Lizzy, to him, I mean, thought about saying this to him during the show too. I didn't get around to it. But then, if you're not familiar with Thin Lizzy, you probably would sound more like classic rock to you than Irish rock. Because they were kind of their own thing. I don't know. It's part of the genre they came from. But ever since the Pogues, I mean, they kind of started this whole new thing, and we've got all these other bands. Obviously, been a huge influence on us, but we've really kind of gone off, I think, in our own direction from there. Whereas almost every other Irish rock band is still stuck in this Pogues mold. It's Froggy Molly, to their credit, at least the last few things I've heard from them, they're kind of branching off. But they started off as basically just a Pogues
rewriting all those Pogues songs.
And then there's the Mahones and I don't know. So many of them just sound all the same to me, and they're all kind of doing the same thing where they're dressing like the Pogues used to dress, and with the vests and the watch chains hanging down and the caps and the
I was
bow ties and stuff.
Fucking cap.
Yeah,
cap that people wear.
Yeah, that's great, but it's let's do something else now. There's a lot of other stuff going on that you don't have to limit yourself to paying tribute to Shane MacGowan your whole career, which is fine. If there's anybody to choose to pay tribute to, he's definitely worthy. But
and Davey Bryan in Florida sent me the clip for the new Pogues. Johnny Depp produced this new Pogues documentary. It's coming out very soon. So, that's
nice.
We'll have to.
That's right. I think I saw Kate O'Riordan mentioning that recently.
Yeah. Okay. And Jeff Lynne, talk about people that I'd want to do a record with.
Oh God!
I mean, just
holy shit! Yeah.
I've been on the ever since we talked about the ELO. I've been listening to all Oh my God. And the stuff that just makes you the hair stand up on the back of your neck. Just, yeah, that's another, I just hope that people start, if you're in Houston, go to Cactus Records, go look at, or Six Lagoon, go look up these records and just buy these old rock and roll records. I mean, they're just, there's so much to say, and there's so much to break you out of this. You know, like you were saying, the listening to the commercials, having to, being subject to those commercials and hearing that shit that they're playing, that computer generated crap that they're doing, all these sounds like the Skype ringtone that we're talking about. There's it's so bad.
I'm a proponent. I think I mentioned before. I mean, I love Quinn and the gang at Cactus. Sig's a good buddy of mine. He sings in my band. I've done 1,000 shows with him. So if you're looking for new and used vinyl, Sig's is the place to go. If you want to get CDs and vinyl and everything else, Cactus, go to both. Why not?
Yeah,
spend some money.
Yeah, they're both within.
I mean, I always think of Cactus because they've been around since my mom and I first moved into town. Cactus has been around since I was
and also Sig's work with Continental. So if you ever need tickets for the Continental, they've got everything you need.
Yeah. I just say, Jeff Lynne, like you said, Jeff Lynne is just such an amazing talent and producer. Although the only fault I've found with Jeff is in the 80s and 90s where every record he produced sounded, Jeff Lynne produced that.
There's been a couple of times that I love Jeff Lynne, but it took me a while. It actually took me a while to kind of grow to appreciate him. Early on, when the Traveling Wilbury stuff came out, I remember initially just kind of being annoyed at how Jeffy the production was on it. It's like, would you just shut up for a second? Just everything sounded like ELO. And then when George Harrison's posthumous record came out, Brainwashed was his last record. He had told Jeff, who was going to finish it after he died, it's like, I don't want this to be overproduced. I want it to be just bare bones, acoustic, just basic stuff, which I had been aching for ever since I heard some of the demos from All Things Must Pass. And Jeff didn't honor George's dying wish. He produced the fuck out of the record and just did what he wanted to do. Like, God damn it, Jeff.
Oh, Jeff.
Yeah. Yeah, but having said that, I mean, he's the guy's a genius. You can't deny that. And I've grown to really love all the Traveling Wilbury stuff, and I get it now. I understand what they were doing, but I also understand why George wanted to kind of step away from that after a while.
Yeah, that's a band that you have to hear everything. You have to know everything back and forth. I couldn't get enough of that. I remember those tours that we listened to that. To their stuff back to back to back to back. It's just incredible. It's just so clever, lyrically, musically. It's so great.
Yeah.
So I'll call Jeff once we get done with this shit.
Please.
Fair enough. Tell him I said hey.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's the only apart from
Dylan.
Yeah, that's right. The only, and the drummer.
Jim Keltner.
Jim Keltner, yeah. Sideberry, as he insists that I'm being called.
Nice.
Did you ever meet?
There we go.
I think I asked you that before. Did you meet Jim Keltner at any of the PASIC stuff?
I did. I met him at NAMM. My very first NAMM. It was the end of the day. It was like they closed at like 5:00, like sharp or whatever time. They was like, okay, everybody out. And you're trying to usher out 100,000, people, seems like sometimes. And me and my buddy Nick Kapka from Chicago, we were way in the back of the drum room where all the Chinese. So and in the percussion section, like all the Chinese manufacturers are stuck way in this back corner, and they had like just the weirdest, craziest stuff you'd ever imagine to hit with a stick. And it was like all this lighted up stuff or whatever. And Jim Keltner was at one of these booths, like trying out a drum or something like that. We stopped. We stopped dead in our tracks, and we're just like, holy shit, that's Jim Keltner. And I had heard that he was kind of standoffish from other people in the industry, so I didn't want to be a dick, but he would happen to catch my eye, and I just kind of waved and said, hey, Mr. Keltner, can I get a picture? Oh, yeah, sure. And so there's a picture of me and him kind of like, standing together. I said, thanks a lot, so great. Nice to meet you, and then left because I didn't want to take up much of his time or anything like that. So technically I met him, but not in a way of like actually talking shop with him.
Right.
If I can find that picture, I'll send it to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just kind of a funny, like weird, oh shit, there's Jim. We're trying to leave actually. And it's just like, oh, there's fucking Jim Keltner right there.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And he looks exactly like you think he'd look. Dark glasses, wearing a wristband, a big black wristband on his arm, whether it's leather or whatever, button down shirt. And that's what it looks like. That's what he wears all the time.
Good taste.
Cool.
See? Exactly.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that has a very distinctive style. I think, there's certain touches that you can just always pick out from the way that he plays.
He did a really weird record back in the 90s with Charlie Watts, and it was like this weird kind of almost like electronica, Patrick's face, this weird kind of electronica record, sort of. And Charlie Watts would play drum set, and Jim Keltner would do all the weird sounds because he was really into weird sounds. If you notice that record, the Elvis Costello record, Mighty Like a Rose, there's a couple songs where like the Hurry Up Doomsday, that song, Chad?
I remember the title.
The bugs are taking over. Anyway, all the weird shit that you hear in the background is all like Jim Keltner's programming and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
He's like, I've had it with drums. I want to try something new. And he would do all this weird programming stuff. And then I forget what that record was called, the Charlie Watts, Jim Keltner record, but it was difficult listening kind of sometimes. And they named all the songs after famous jazz drummers, but none of them were in any way related to anything about that drummer, which is even stranger.
That sounds like a little bit of a money grab.
I don't know. It was just weird. It's just like, oh, cool. It's a song about Elvin Jones, who I really like. And then they would play the Elvin Jones song, and there's nothing on it that sounded like Elvin Jones is playing it all. So, weird. Anyway.
That's strange. Elvis Costello is another person that talk about wanting to. There's a CD record called The Long Journey Home, and it's got a bunch of the players on it. And Elvis Costello does a couple of tracks on it, I believe. And one is called, I think it's Green, White, and Gold. But I think he plays it with the Chieftains. I have to look it up. But tremendous number. A flawless piece of music. And he's another one of those guys that just writes. He's a lyricist beyond any, beyond most lyricists anyway. He's a poet, such a phenomenal writer. And then the music that he writes too is so infectious. It's so groovy yet complicated, but then it's not. He's another one of those guys. Just that's a rabbit hole to go down, and just seems to always be working. Always be working. So
true. Yeah, his lyrics are word heavy. They're very dense.
He's not writing bitch.
He doesn't write any fluff. It's like it's going to be this much stuff I got to talk about in this next 3 minutes or whatever it is, 4 minutes. Yeah, and it's going to be a lot.
Yeah, and poignant though. He doesn't skimp on the lyrics. He doesn't poison his lyrics, if you know what I mean.
He doesn't talk dirty to me.
Right.
Huh? What? Who?
Yeah.
He doesn't talk dirty to me. He doesn't, let the cat out of the bag. He doesn't.
No.
Every rose does not have its thorn, apparently. Anyway, enough about that.
Yeah, I think we got us an episode.
Yeah, we're done.
I could tell by the.
Yeah, the glazed.
Even the computer is going, hey, I think you guys.
Yeah, little glitchy.
Hey, Eric, will you stay on for a second after we finish up?
Yeah,
and we'll just wrap this up and then.
Okay.
I'll get a stern talking to.
Yes.
The hazing continues.
Mm-hmm.
All right.